So there is a somewhat of a consensus that sometimes gaming is just a waste of time. After many years of gaming, having gone from that kid that played Minecraft in middle school to essentially not really gaming all that much except with friends and, well, watching videos like Smitty's videos on YouTube, I think the answer isn't really that clear. It's like a yes and no, but there's a difference. I guess it depends. It depends. And I'd say gaming has been a big part of my life in the first place. The way it actually, how I do it, is very different now though. But also in a way, it's very similar still. And I will say now that I am more of a creator who makes games and also to some extent watches people play games. This is my point of view of gaming, at least now, compared to when I was in middle school, that being that Minecraft kid. I think it's interesting because usually we talk about the two camps of like basically quitting gaming and never touching it again, or being a really hardcore gamer, or someone who grinds and plays a lot and spends a lot of their off time playing. There's never really talk about the middle, where it's like the people that game but also live their normal lives and, it coexists in a sense. I mean, it's like I said earlier, it's still part of my life. It's just different now. And going back to that whole thing with Minecraft, I definitely used to play like hours and hours. Like it was a lot of time spent with friends, especially my best friend from school. But granted, this was like early or Minecraft before how it is now, where it's honestly not that interesting anymore. But like I didn't really have that much going on. Yes, I had coding. Yes, I had all that other extracurricular stuff like concert band. Like there wasn't really any other meaningful thing part of my life because heck, you're just a kid in school just trying to finish the grades, finish the tests, do your obligations, hang out with friends. There's not really much to it. I mean, there's definitely a part of me back then that used to play a lot of Nintendo games, and granted, they're really freaking expensive now. But like that, apart from like playing those games, there wasn't really much else going on. Not to mention, also back then, I also had a really bad anxiety, and maybe it was some part of me back then that felt comforted by, and I guess a sense of control from gaming because, it's a world that you have your own control over to some extent. I didn't really see it as that initially, but if I give it another thought and based off of how my anxiety was back then, it kind of makes sense now. And in college, I think there was a point where like I wasn't really doing a whole lot, and I decided to, heck, let's just try hobbies. Let's make myself do hobbies. And I did, and frankly, even now and even then, I definitely take on way too many hobbies. For crying out loud. But I do think eventually life did get fuller with my girlfriend and with work and trying to figure out this whole radiology stuff and just career stuff in general. It's interesting because back then I wasn't really sure how my life would evolve. And I guess it's a thing where you haven't gone through it and you just sort of can't trust it. But like being in this position now, I can say that trusting it was the best choice, that things would naturally progress. And I think that there was a point in my time, maybe even more recently, back then maybe not so much, because I think way younger past me would not have thought it's a waste. But I think more recent me, at some point, considered it as time that was wasted. And I know that part of me also spent a lot of time on my hobbies, a lot of time on projects, because when you realize that, oh, I need to actually do something with my life, it's very easy to put it to the wayside. But also maybe I am glad that I did enjoy it for what it was back then, because like it's time you'll never get back. And most of the time I feel like being a kid means being able to enjoy those times while you still have them, because you'll never get them back. But at the same time, it can get unhealthy. There's such thing as moderation. I don't think I should have spent as much time, and frankly, it did get me a little bit in trouble for playing too much. So that was maybe the mistake I made, or at least in hindsight, that I shouldn't spend all of my time. I should have one or two things outside of gaming, but also like it's kind of okay. But I think the most interesting shift, I think, was shifting from being just a gamer to also creating. I basically went from being the player, the person consuming the content, to consuming in a sense where it's people's videos, and like for example Smitty, he is probably my favorite creator to watch just because of the wild stuff that can happen in those videos. But also being a maker of games, which has been kind of a dream of mine for a long time. Don't get me wrong, I still game. I still play Overwatch with my friends. I still play wacky games that we decide to play sometimes. I do play Overwatch on my own time, and on occasion I will still buy a Nintendo game or buy a game that looks just fun. I mean, there was a point where I wanted to just only play games that were like top tier, like Omori, but like there's only so many games like that out there. But honestly, nowadays you'll just find me watching people play games or building something that I wanted to make. Of course, I do still have my occasional long session of Minecraft, depending on who I'm playing with. It's interesting though, I'm still part of that gaming space, but yet I'm just in a different point or a different place or a different seat, I guess. But yeah, I do want to rehash that it's fine to game. It still is. I don't think it's a waste of time. I don't think it's stupid. In fact, it's a cool thing. And I think that's a much more normalized thing, I think, nowadays, especially with the rise of content creators and just the explosion of the gaming industry. Yes, there's always problems, but it certainly, for the most part, has gotten a lot cooler, I think. But yeah, always good to have moderation. It's always not a good thing, or actually it's kind of not a little extreme, but more often than not, too much of something can be bad. So like, don't game so much that you're throwing your life away, basically. And frankly, I'm kind of glad that we moved past that whole, or at least I hope we have, where gaming causes violence. I remember that was a thing way back, and like that was also like an argument against gaming being a good thing. But like, I don't think anything crazy has happened because of gaming, because of GTA violence. So that's good. It just isn't really a bad thing. If anything, it's a cool expression of emotion and storytelling, and just, it's an awesome medium. Like the things that it can do and the communities that it can bring together, and the amounts of good that you can do with a game, especially like a game like Stardew Valley, which I think has had a tremendous impact on a lot of people. The game that I can't remember, that Eric Brown made. It's just, I guess it's almost a little inspiring because it's something I want to do as well. And I hope I can sort of feed that cycle of like being able to have a positive influence on someone. It's interesting. It came full circle, being the one consuming the games, to being able to want to contribute to that and do good with the games. I never considered that. But yeah. Anyways, keep gaming, y'all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.